This is Chattanooga, Tennessee, America's most Christian city based on church attendance, Bible reading, and overall religious belief. But here's the problem. Even here, that faith is being tested. I mean, with culture shifting and atheism on the rise, this city is at risk of losing their faith. So I flew 2,000 miles out here to investigate whether the city lives up to its title or if its faith has quietly disappeared. And let me tell you, what I uncovered in this city left me with more questions than answers.
There's over 48,000 denominations, you know? There should only be one.
Arriving into the city, my investigation was on its way. I mean, I already noticed that there is a ridiculous amount of churches here, literally on every corner. Which reminds me, the way that I will be investigating this city is simple. First, talk with church leaders who are on the front lines. Second, talk with everyday people to get their opinions. And lastly, see if there's any signs of the faith dying. Starting off with talking with our Uber driver first. This city's known as like the most Christian city in America.
This one?
Would you believe it if somebody told you that?
I know I can't believe it. Still don't believe it, and you just told me that. The lifestyle like this.
Maybe not the best start, but it was now time to hear from these church leaders, starting off with their testimonies.
Wasn't raised in a Christian home. Father was a drug dealer, drug addict. You know, he committed suicide when I was 13 years old. I would end up going down that same path that he went down. And when I was 20 years old, I surrendered my life to Jesus in a jail cell.
Really, I guess the start for ministry was when I was about 19 years old in 2001, when I had a personal encounter with Christ that changed everything for me.
Next, I wanted to find out what they thought about the city.
I did notice that it seems like Chattanooga has always been historically like a launching pad for pastors, for ministers, and you just got a lot of healthy, life-giving churches in the city of Chattanooga.
There's a different living here. A lot of people will come here and say, well, the people are friendly here, and the people are much nicer here.
Yeah.
People actually talk to you here,
Yeah.
even if you're not a Christian. I think there's a residual impact of Christianity in the culture that has a spillover effect.
And to wrap these interviews up, I want to know the big question. If they thought that the city was at risk of losing its faith.
In that sense, no. Some people in our modern era think that we have overcome our old superstitions and we no longer need Christianity. I think that idea is constantly being challenged and overturned.
I mean, we see it creep in, you know, across, the country, across the nation, for sure. I think that's why it's more important than ever for us to be preaching truth, to be preaching out of love. And here's what's crazy about it. You think, well, the churches that are preaching the hard stuff are the churches that are probably not growing, they're not reaching. It's the exact opposite. I think God is breathing on those churches. God is blessing those churches. And it's just a powerful testimony to the power of God and the power of the truth of the Word of God.
It was time to put these claims to the test and go into the heart of the city. But before that, I wanted to know what our next Uber driver had to say. What do you think so far living here, if I told you
All I
that?
can tell you is my experiences on a golf course. Every time I get on a golf course, people say, what church do you go to?
Yeah.
So,
The Uber driver didn't say much more than this, but I did think that there was another place we might find different answers. Next one, we're here at St. Peter's Basilica. It's like the most beautiful Catholic church here in all of the city. Only problem is we didn't have any, planned interview with the priest, so we have to. For some weird reason, I felt like if there was a priest, a man with a black priest outfit, that would make it more creepy. And not less. Yeah, there's no shot we were walking down that hall. So we decided to continue our investigation and go into the city. And we had stopped to talk to a lot of people, but most of them didn't want to be recorded. But I was still committed to the mission. We're walking to our next place, to the city actually. And right next to the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, there's a church. And then there's another church right in front of us. And go figure, a couple blocks later, every corner. With this many churches, I started to believe there was no way the faith could be shaken. Until we saw our first, color flag. We were walking and we spotted something. Honestly, I thought to myself, this is only one sign. It's probably not anything to, shake the faith. Okay, we had to come into a coffee shop because it was atrociously hot outside. I mean, I'm from Miami and it doesn't get this hot. But what I was gonna say is that even the people here that are not Christian, and I tell them that we're here doing this video that supposedly the city's known as the most Christian city in America, at first they laugh it off and say, what? There's no way that this city could be the most Christian. And then they proceed to say, well, now that I think about it, everybody here is super nice. There's a bunch of churches. Everybody's helpful. So I guess that's displaying the fruits of the Spirit. And just as we were about to leave, I saw something questionable. Oh no. It was time to continue our way into the city because we had to talk with everyday people. But before that, you knew what we had to do. And this wasn't just any Uber driver we were getting into. This was William. And little did William know our mission, because his bio read, very personable, but I will not chat your ear off unless you want to. And oh, William, we do want for you to chat our ear off.
Would you believe it if somebody told you it was the most Christian city?
Yes, I would.
Pray hard.
Oh, I like that.
I knew William was going to be different. He had a cup that said pray hard with a cross on it. And seeing this going into the city gave me just that bit of optimism that this city might hold true to its title.
And you lived here? You were born here? Grew up here?
My whole life. I don't know that I would live anywhere else.
Have you seen anything change in the city? Here,
Definitely, embracing, all religions.
After our conversation with William, we finally arrived in the heart of the city. But we still weren't getting much luck with street interviews.
Excuse me, do you live here in the city by any chance? No? The city's supposedly known as the most Christian city in America. If we told you that, would you believe it?
I don't know.
No.
So we decided to go to the next best place, the aquarium, of course. And nothing could have prepared us for what we were about to find out.
We're doing a mini documentary. Supposedly the city is the most Christian city in America. Would you believe that?
Not all of it. Parts, maybe. Like, there's definitely some mega churches in the area. I will say, interesting side tidbit, there is a cult in Chattanooga.
What?
It's called the Yellow Deli. It's a restaurant here, but they're also a cult.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what you do or don't want to hear when making this type of video, but I had to get back into my main investigation. Well, for now, at least.
Did you notice when you first came into the city that it felt more Christian? People were nicer. There was more churches. Did you see any of that when you first came?
Well, I remember driving down the street, and there's literally like these street signs that are like diamond shaped that say church. And I remember driving downtown and going like, is that like a warning sign for a church? But yeah, man, it seemed like everybody I knew was raised in the church or grew up in the church or something. Businesses were closed on Sundays. That was such a different cultural vibe than where I was from.
In Chattanooga, mostly you only hear really good things. Like, there's a lot of excellent churches. Like, if you want to be Presbyterian, there's a lot of excellent Presbyterian churches, and I know pastors of those churches that are amazing people.
I decided to finish the interview with the guy with the hat, Jason, in the car, and that's when I found out he actually ministers to hundreds of college students. So I asked him a simple question: has their faith been growing or fading?
What I've seen is that the folks who are interested in Jesus, who are interested in the church, they're more serious. There's actually less cultural pressure to go to church on Sundays, to read the Bible, to pray, to whatever, to make some statement about your faith. And so what I've experienced lately, last couple of years, is a genuineness. There's a real sincerity, man. Even in a city like Chattanooga with so many churches and so much history of church involvement or whatever else, there's this deep, deep hunger for like, what is beneath all of this? And a real curiosity, even from non-Christians.
I won't lie, I tried to just forget about the supposed cult because we were tight on time, but I couldn't. So I asked my last question.
Do you think the faith of the city is at risk?
No, I don't. I think if anything, it's the opposite. I think that, like I was saying earlier, you'll continue to see a shift happening where more and more people are realizing that religion and transcendence and these kinds of things are really helpful. I think Chattanooga will continue to become more and more Christian.
I think every city and every generation's faith, so to speak, or really anything, is at risk in the next generation. But I guess that framing to me is fundamentally negative, and I would just want to say that in every generation there are new possibilities and new risks. God doesn't give up on any generation, for sure. This happens in the Old Testament with generations of Israel. One generation can forget, or one generation can remember, and the whole generation behind them can be raised in the church.
Feeling confident about my decision on if the city truly lived up to its title, there was still one last place to go.
There was no way this lady was going to tell us that there was a cult and we're not going to go visit the cult. The only thing is that I'm actually scared because it looks like a normal place. It looks like a normal deli. I mean, look at this sandwich. This is the absolute most appetizing sandwich that I've ever seen. We're gonna go see it before we leave because our flight leaves in 2 hours, if this is really a cult.
And before heading out, I did the most logical thing anybody would do before going into a cult. Get their source of information from yet another Uber driver. And I asked him if he knew anything about the Yellow Deli.
The Yellow Deli?
Yeah.
But I'm relatively new to...
Honestly, at this point, I didn't know if the Uber driver was in on it, but he was definitely acting a bit sus.
We just arrived.
place that I was.
Really?
It's really quaint inside.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
The Uber driver definitely knew what's up, but it was now time to walk inside. And as you can tell by my face, as soon as I walked in, the vibe was off. I mean, the best way I could describe it is that I felt like I was in the movie Get Out. And at surface level, everything seemed to be normal until I saw people were looking at us weird. The workers were dressed different, and there was some interesting artwork. Maybe this was me tripping out. I mean, there was no way there's going to be a cult hidden in plain sight. And then I looked at the menu, and it said that they serve the fruit of the Spirit. So I asked.
So how does that work?
Yeah, well, we're just kind of like a big family. It's like a spiritual family.
Nice.
Yeah, like we all believe the same thing. We're all living for the same cause. We're all living for one another, really.
At this point, we weren't able to get everything on camera, but his questions became more and more specific, and it started giving off very eerie vibes. I mean, I've never had a waiter ask, "What's your first name? And what's your last name?" And honestly, for a while, a lot of what he was saying kind of made sense.
Well, so this is what I was going to get at, because this is the question. Because what he says in that verse is, not everyone who says, "Lord, Lord," shall enter, but he who does the will of my Father. So how do you know if you're doing the Father's will? These verses in Acts are the most descriptive of what the early believers actually did with their lives.
Yes.
So it can actually give us...
In Acts. Okay.
So it can actually give us a down-to-earth reality.
He ended up asking us questions and being there for like 10 minutes, and there were some weird moments, but overall, I'm not gonna lie, bro got me interested, and we were definitely getting recruited. So after we ordered our food, I did some digging. At first, all I found was aesthetic photos and some 5-star reviews. But then I saw the articles, the lawsuits, the YouTube videos. I mean, the Yellow Deli is run by a group called the 12 Tribes, a cult that's been investigated for child labor, rape, and being extreme. And remember what he told me about that they all live together and share their money together? Well, that's only half true, because everybody inside doesn't own anything. They work for free, and the incentive is that they all live in the same house. Yeah, I think what we walked into was starting to make a bit more sense. I mean, the signs, everybody looking at us weird, and us getting recruited, and I realized we weren't just in a sandwich shop. We had walked into a trap with the menu. So we politely stepped out, and with only about a couple minutes, made our way back to the airport. And as I ran trying to catch our flight, I began to start thinking about everything. The signs, the churches, and now the cult. And for some reason, all I could think about was the words of Christ when he said, "You are the salt of the world." So with just a couple seconds left, we made it to our flight, and I think I was ready to make my decision on the city. Okay, we just made it to the plane by like a literal hair strand, because we got caught up investigating a cult. This video took a turn like I would have never expected. But overall, I mean, being that this is the most Christian city in America, I definitely think it lives up to the name. Even people that are not Christian, they claim that this city has fruits of the Spirit, which I feel like is what to us as followers of Christ should exemplify. The fruit of the Spirit before we start talking about Christ and start talking about different stuff. But the city did leave me with one question unanswered, with one rock unturned. But let me know in the comments if you guys want me to uncover Christianity's darkest cult in all of America.